Hi guys. Hi everybody. Are you hungry? Eden is in the building, don't worry. So there's a lot of food. Um, okay, so I think my slides can show now. All right, I think we can get started. So how many people came with their laptops? Because everybody's going to code with me today. Oh. Did you come with your laptop? Or do you have GitHub on your phone? You can code on your phone, right? Then we are good to go. Um, I want to assume that everybody knows JavaScript in the building. I'm not a JavaScript fan, just by the way. I code with PHP and Laravel. They call it the boring technology, but that's what we make money with. So if you're a Java person, or Python, or Elixir, or Rust, just try. If you don't know how to code JavaScript, just look at your neighbor and just copy whatever they are doing, okay? You can copy and paste, very good. So today, when I came here, I thought the workshop setting was going to be different, but I was given the biggest and largest hall, so I don't know how I'm going to go about it. But anyways, we are going to do it regardless. So I'm giving a workshop about the complete guide to building in-app notifications in web apps, right? Everybody here knows about notifications. You have received notification one way or the other. You've received on your phone, maybe you signed up on Facebook, or you signed up on Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter here? Almost everybody, right? Yeah. I'm sure some people are even subscribed to some people's profile. Is that correct? So when some people tweet, they get the notifications on their phone. Correct? Yeah, so you always get notifications, right? And one of the things I've discovered so far is that when you sign up on a web app, right, by default, you're expected to get an email notification or get an SMS notification or even a push notification, right? Whether it is a web app or a mobile app. And when you don't get it, you're wondering what's happening, you go back and check, right? If it is on iMessage or you're on Instagram, something is happening, you're expecting somebody sends you a message, you actually want to get a notification. And when you don't get a notification, you're worried, right? So this talk or this workshop is just to show you how you can simply and very easily build or integrate in-app notifications into your web apps. So when I was preparing this talk, one of the things I discovered was that notifications are literally the bedrock of communication between apps, right? Whether it is web apps or mobile apps, apps are always communicating with themselves, right? Even if you use, maybe you're trying to integrate Paystack, right? You have a webhook, you're waiting for a notification somewhere, something is processing for so long, you're waiting for an email notification, you're waiting for something, right? Every time you're waiting for something, and when that thing doesn't come, you're worried. Some of us have, Slack notifications, pager duty, all of those things just set up so that if something is going wrong with our applications, we can actually know and we can go and debug the problem. So, we all know this. I don't have to say it. If you say it, you're on your own. So today we'll just be focused on web apps, right? We all know about mobile push notifications, but we are not going to talk much about that. Today is just web apps, and I came up with this because I know a lot of people are just, many people started web development. Some people are very familiar with web, so this is easier to do than, going straight to mobile. So this is what will be the focus of today. Now, like I said earlier, there are different types of notifications, right? There's the SMS, there's email notification, there's push notification. For today, we are just going to be focused on in-app notifications, right? We'll be focused on in-app notifications. And if you still use Facebook heavily, When you log in, you always get in-app notification. Somebody pokes you, you get a notification. Somebody sends a friend request, you get a notification, right? And then you have a notification center on your top right. If you're on Reddit, for example, and you're using the Reddit web version, when you check it, you get a notification, right? Any custom web app that you sign into, there is a high probability that there is a notification center set up so that when something happens within the app, somebody makes another action, you can actually see it when you click on the notification bell by the right. So let's talk about the pain points in building notification feature systems. So many years ago, right, if you wanted to build if somebody gave you a project and said, oh, let's integrate payments into this app, like I want to build an e-commerce web app, and I want to also, I want all my users to be able to pay me, right? So many years ago, like 10 years ago, it was a pain, right? In fact, when they give you that kind of project, there's a very high probability that you just run away from it. You know, you're just like, no, I don't want to integrate payments because like it was a hassle, right? But when Paystack came and Flutterwave came, they changed the game. It was now very easy for you to integrate payments. So I want to liken that now to notifications, right? Maybe you guys start a sprint and your product manager is like, oh, we need to build a real-time like notification system in this app. The next thing you're thinking about is, I need to set up WebSockets. I need to set up this. I need to set up that. And some of you know that when it's time to set up WebSockets or anything that has to do with like chat and real-time, some of us run away from it because of the hassles involved, right? Am I speaking some people's minds here? Some people have set up chat systems before that did not even see the light of day, right? It worked locally, and then when you deployed it to prod, it had so many problems. And then you people had to sunset that feature. It's like, you know what? Maybe they don't need to chat with each other. Let's forget about that. So I'm giving this talk today so that you don't have to worry about that again. When somebody tells you, or when you discover that you need to build in-app notifications in your project, you will remember this talk because I'm going to show you a very easy way of making this thing happen, right? So let's go back to the pain points. So, number one, setting up notification providers. Most times when you build a web app, the first thing you're doing is what? Authentication, right? Create an account, reset password, and when you reset password, what should the user get? An email. That's the default. So you go about looking for the email providers to use. Which one should we use? Mailgun. You can suggest SCS. Which other one? Mandrill. What other ones? NodeMailer. Exactly. So you set up those providers. You set them up. You put your credentials. You write the code. Boom. It's working. You are good to go, right? And you start using that email provider. Then your product manager comes again and says, you know what? Some people don't check their email, a lot, right? Or the users of these products are not people that like to check their emails. They like to receive SMS. So let's integrate SMS notifications, right? Then you start looking for SMS providers, right? Locally, you're looking, okay, what are the guys I can use? Should I use SendChamp? You look for another provider, and then you sign up on their platform, you get their credentials, you write the code again, and you add, right? Now, you have email, you have SMS, and then your product manager comes again and says, you know what, that's not enough, because people are not getting informed enough. Let's do push notifications, right? And then you go ahead and start looking for that. So, if you're following me now, you see that we've talked about 3 different channels: email, SMS, and push, right? And even within these 3 channels, you have multiple providers. Sometimes, have you set up an email system before that when you trigger an email notification, it takes about like 5 or 10 minutes before the user gets the email, right? And then you're testing the app, or the app is in production, you have clicked it, or somebody has done an action that is meant to receive email, and everybody is waiting at the demo and looking at it. But I've not gotten the email. What's going on? What's happening? And you, in your mind of minds, you know that this thing is working because you tested it last night, and this morning you received the email, right? You received the email locally, you received it on staging, and on production, this thing is taking time, right? So you're like, nah, it has nothing to do with the code. It has to do with the service provider. Let's go and check. And the service provider is telling you, we've delivered this notification, so if you're not getting it, you're on your own. Some of us have had that kind of issue, right? So at the end of the day now, you're now saying, if I want to switch from Mandrill to Mailgun or to Node Mailer, I have to go back again to the drawing board, and then I have to install a new package, I have to write code again, and do that, right? So these are some of the pain points. Having to deal with multiple providers and having to set them up with all of the different channels and writing custom code all the time. Then also switching between multiple providers is a pain point. Another thing I want to talk about too is the digest and the delay systems. So some of you might not know what this is. A digest engine, in fact, let me go back and give you an example. I will use Facebook again. No, let me not use Facebook, because some of you don't use Facebook already. Let's use LinkedIn. Let's use LinkedIn. So one thing I like about LinkedIn is that everybody is a senior professional. Everybody is a senior engineer. Everybody is a lead developer, right? You know, even if it is just a small project that you have, that you started working on in 400 level, as long as you have been working on it for the past 5 years, you're a lead developer. And you put that in your resume, you put that on LinkedIn, right? So when you open LinkedIn, the first thing that pops up, at least for me, is I see all the message box pop up, right? People are sending you messages. Then the next thing I check is the notification. Then I check the feed, the timeline, right? And I see everybody's achievements. First 5 minutes of seeing everybody's achievements, I want to shut down my laptop because I don't think I'm achieving enough, right? So notifications are giving me problems. Because why all of these achievements? I went to sleep last night. I woke up this morning. Somebody has gone from a manager to a senior manager. How? What am I going to do about it? Okay? So, but one thing that LinkedIn does in their notification system is that every single time, for example, when somebody likes a post or somebody comments or somebody sends you a friend request, they don't send you everything immediately, right? Sometimes you get it immediately. Sometimes you get it one day after, or you get it 30 minutes later. What they do is that they aggregate all of the notification events and they send it at once. So when you open LinkedIn, you see 25 people have sent you a connection or something like that. Or 25 people have been promoted. 7 people that work in your company no longer work there. I came up with that, so it doesn't show that. Anyways, that's what you call a digest system. So a digest system or a digest engine is an engine that can aggregate so many events instead of sending you the event at once. Because I promise you, if an app is sending you a notification all the time, you're going to uninstall the app. True or true? Right? Even though some people abuse that a lot. I don't want to call names, but there are some apps that you install now. Once you install, immediately you install it. Every 5 minutes, do you want to buy bread? We have beans on the store now. You know, they're always sending you push notifications, right? But when you have a digest system, you can control and schedule how you want notification events to be sent to people. Just send it every 5 minutes. Or you can do a back off. Send it 5 minutes now, send it 10 minutes later, send it 20 minutes later, send it 2 hours later, right? And then batch all the events together, aggregate everything, and send it at once. A very good example I can use is GitHub, right? If you check GitHub, you know that sometimes you don't get all your notifications immediately, right? Maybe somebody made a comment on a PR, or somebody's reviewing the PR. Instead of getting in it one by one, sometimes you just get it at once. That can be very scary, right? You have sent in a PR, and then there are a lot of comments from different people. Imagine you are getting it every single time. You have fixed it the first time, you have fixed it the second time, you have fixed it the third time, and then in your mind you're set with like, okay, I'm done with this PR. And then you start getting notifications. What about this? What about this? You have not fixed this one. Why are you using this? Why are you using this? That can be very scary. So GitHub digests it and sends it at once. Aggregation, right? Now, to build that kind of system on your own, it's not very easy. It can be very difficult to build a digest system. So what I will be showing you today is how to leverage an existing system to use that in your app. You don't have to build it from scratch. All right, so I'll be talking about Novu today. Novu is an open source project. It's on GitHub. And Novu is a tool that allows you, it's a notification infrastructure basically, Some people call it a library. I like to call it an API. It's an API that when you integrate in your web apps, it allows you to manage multiple providers at once, manage multiple channels. In fact, let me just go to the next slide. So this is what Novu does, right? Novu is a single API for all messaging providers. I want you to look at it like this. When you look at a gateway and a web app is connecting to a gateway, for example, maybe Paystack or Flutterwave. Now, what happens behind the scene is that gateway is also connecting to some other gateways, right? It's connecting to maybe MasterCard or Visa card or even some other, local gateways to try to process a transaction. So that's what Novu does too as well. Novu is like a gateway. When you connect your app to Novu, Novu abstracts all of this code implementation and provides you an interface that allows you to have multiple channels, multiple providers, a digest system, a delay system, and allows you to have so many other things that we are going to be talking about today. So our workshop has started in full now. This is the first step. So if you are with your laptop or with your phone, you can use the QR code. I put a QR code because I know many people don't like to type. So if you have your phones or your laptop, please scan that QR code. It's going to take you to a dashboard. I need you to sign up on that dashboard. Or you can just type this in your browser if you have your laptop with you, because I want you guys to code with me. We're not going to do a lot of code, just a little bit, because of the way this is arranged. So this is the first step. I need you to sign up on this. So this is the cloud dashboard for Novu. When you sign up on this, what you're going to see is you're going to have a dashboard where you're going to see a lot of things, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So I'm just going to give you like a minute or 2 minutes to sign up. You can sign up with GitHub, you can sign up with your first name and last name, but I'm sure to make it easy, just sign up with GitHub so that it's very fast. So sign up with GitHub. When you sign up, you see a dashboard. Oh, I see we have a lot more people coming to join us. Are they coming for food or coming for the session? So if you are coming for the session, please join us. We are just starting the workshop in full. This is the first step. I need you to sign up on this, or you can take your phone, your laptop, scan this barcode. You're going to sign up on the dashboard, the Novu dashboard. So once you've signed up on the Novu dashboard and you have logged in, please, if you are with your laptop, you can bring it out so that you can follow along with me. Are we done signing up? Huh? Oh, it's blocking it. Okay, just give me a second. Let me see if I can. Can you see it properly now? So if you are using the link, it is bit.ly novu-web. And again, you don't have to type the link. You can always just scan the barcode. You can just zoom in on your phone or use your laptop webcam and then just zoom in and sign up on that. All right. So I want to assume that you have signed up. Please, this is very critical because if you don't sign up, you will not have access to your API keys, right? Novu works with API keys. So I need you to sign up so that you can get your keys because we need the keys in this workshop. I need you to sign up so that you can have the keys. All right. So now this is the community channel. So this is not a must, but if you want to join the Discord channel, all the open source contributors from Novu are in this channel. So in case you have any questions, you have any concerns, you need support, they are always here to answer your questions. So feel free to join, but we can talk about this later so that we don't waste time. Let's move on to the next step. So number 2, now that you've signed up on Novu's dashboard, the second step is to create a workflow or choose from the workflow template store. Now I'm going to show you that quickly. So just follow along. So this is the Novus dashboard, and this is the workflows, right? This is the workflow. So if you have signed up, just click on the sidebar. You see a place called workflows. So one of the first things you do when you want to, start your notification process, when you integrate Novu, is to create a workflow. When you are creating a workflow, you are creating a notification template. Everything starts from a notification template. And I'm going to show you what that means now. So let's go ahead and create a workflow. So we are going to create a blank workflow. So if you cannot see the screen, I'm going to try to zoom it. I don't know if you can see it properly. This screen is weird. But if you have your laptops with you, you can follow along, or your phone. I don't know if it is mobile responsive. So when you create a new workflow, you have a blank slate, a blank workflow. The first thing you have here is your trigger. I'm going to explain that later. The trigger is to actually, trigger the notification. Now, what you need to do is, you see this plus button here, you are going to add a channel. At the beginning of this workshop, I gave you examples of channels. Email is a channel. SMS is a channel. Push is a channel. In-app is a channel, right? So please don't forget. You have the email channel, you have the SMS, you have the in-app, and then you have what again? You have the push. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and add an in-app channel, because what I want to show you in this workshop is how to send in-app notifications, how to build in-app notifications within your web app. So now that we have the in-app, we are going to click on it. The in-app is going to open up an editor. I wish this was clearer. I don't know if it is very clear. Let me see if I can switch the theme. Aha. Oh, I don't know if this is better. This is a light theme. Which one is better, the light theme or the dark theme? Huh? The dark. Ah, nice. Okay, let's go back. Children of light. Okay, so remember, we created a workflow, and in the workflow, we added a channel, an in-app channel. Now, in this in-app channel, we double-clicked on the in-app to open the editor for more details. Now, this is the more details. Now, what you can see here is an editor. Now, again, I told you, the first step is to create a workflow, and the workflow is a combination of these steps to create a notification template. So when you send a message, for example, when you send an email, the email has a content, right? It has a body. When you send SMS, it has a body as well. So for in-app 2, we need to write the content of the body, okay? So what should we write here? What do you think? Let's do welcome to Oscar Africa notification workshop. So this is going to be the content of the notifications that will be sent, right? So now that we've added welcome to Oscar notification workshop, please follow along if you're with your laptop, because it's easier that way. Go ahead and update. Click on update. So it's going to update this workflow. So let's go back to the workflows and look at the latest workflow we have created. So now this is the latest workflow. What we forgot to do was give it a name. So let's give it a name. Here, let's call it Oscar Africa workshop. So you can create different types of notification templates. You can create like an onboarding template, the kind of notification you want to be sent when somebody just signs up for the first time, right? If somebody sends a friend request, you can create a friend request notification template. You can create a whatever, different types of templates, right? So this is an example we are using. Let's call it Oscar Africa workshop and update. So if we go back, one thing I needed to note here is the ID. Two things, the name and the ID. So in the ID is like a slug. We all know what a slug is, right? A slug is generated from the title, just using dashes. So we have a slug, and that slug is very important. It is called the trigger ID, and you're going to see where we are going to use it very soon. So now that we have this, let me go back to the slide to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. We have added the in-app channel. Okay, good. This is the next step. So if you're following on your laptop, there are two things I need you to do. You can go to this URL and clone this backend, because I know we have different types of developers here, so I just made it easy. You can clone this backend, or if you don't want to clone it, you can fire up your Postman or your Insomnia, because I'm going to give you a URL that you can, just set up and you can test it from your Postman. That URL is going to do different things. It's going to send a notification. It's going to do other things that we're going to cover in this workshop. All right. So the first thing we want to do is to be able to trigger a notification. But before we trigger a notification, I want us to actually... You have a question? We should go back. Okay. Please let me know if you're not following, because I need you guys to follow so that you can understand what I'm saying. Okay, some of you are still trying to clone it. Okay. So if you can't find this, you can go to my profile on GitHub, Unicode Developer, click on repositories. The first repository you see there is this repository, Oscar Workshop Backend. I hope I made it open source, because I know it was private. I was working on this. I pushed it to GitHub when it was public. What? It's private. Yeah, sorry. I have 25 more minutes. I made it private because I was working on it and I pushed it open source and somebody went to and liked it. Immediately I pushed it. I said, what's going on here? I quickly put it on private. Some people are monitoring my account. That's why I put it on private. So I'm just going to do it now. There are a lot of important things on my GitHub, so 2FA is very important. Somebody has tried to hack my GitHub account before. Since then, I've been wise. So now it is public. So if you go back to my account, you should see it now. So if you go to Unicode Developer, go to repositories, it should be the first repository you see. Oscar Workshop Backend. Can you see it now? Can you confirm that you can see it? Great. Awesome. So let's continue. All right. So you can clone it on your laptop right now. If you cannot clone it, don't worry. I'm going to show you a URL that you can use to trigger the notification. So let's move to the next slide. Now, we are about to send a notification. But before we trigger a notification, I need us to create a project, a web project, right? We are going to write some basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Don't be scared. It's just very small. Tiny HTML and CSS. Because I need us to be able to add the notification center in the app. Like, I want to assume that you're building a new project now, right? And you have your screen, your HTML, your CSS, your headers, everything. And then you need to show where the notifications is going to show up within the web app. All right, let's go. So I'm just going to move to my terminal right now. Or, in fact, let's go to the editor. Okay, so I'm just going to close this. So this is my editor. If it was a smaller group, we'll have gone step by step, but I already put this out here at the back when I was, before I came up. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it at all? You can see it? That's amazing. All right, let me try and increase it a bit. Awesome. Can you see it properly? So if you are with your laptop right now following, I just need you to create whatever editor you're using, create an index.html file, an app.js, and a style.css. Don't worry about the style. It can be as ugly as you want. That's not what we are focused on today. We're just focused on you setting up the in-app notifications and you actually receiving a notification right about now. So I want to point out some things here now, right? When you look at the HTML code here, what can you see? In the script tag, I am importing a component, a novel component, right? Now, you can go ahead and do an npm install as well, but because I'm doing a workshop, it's easier for me to just use the linked version. So if you're writing this in your laptop now, please feel free, It's called novel web component.netlify.app/index.js. This is the script that will allow us to actually have the in-app notification center within our app. So I need you to make sure this is working, right? So go ahead, add this. If you're following along on your laptop, add this script, because this script is what is going to bring in the notification center. Now, the next step, now that you have brought it in, we are actually going to call the component itself. Again, this is a web component. There are different libraries. We have the Vue component, we have the React, and we have the web component. With the web component, regardless of the technology you like, anybody can use it, right? You can use it in your vanilla JS project, you can use it in any project. If you are using Vue, there's also the Vue package. If you're using React, I'm sure a lot of people are using React here. I'm joyful, because anywhere I go, you have more React people. Do you have a lot of people using Vue.js here? Meet me after this session. You are blessed. All right. So, very important, now that you have linked the web component, I need to point out a section, which is the most important here, right? This thing has gone off. Okay, give me a second. Okay. So this section is the most important here. This is the notification center component. I need you to, pay attention to this here. The notification center component is what we display the notification center, which we are going to see in a moment. We are going to run. Now, this notification center component has two very important parts. You have the application identifier, which is your app ID, and then you have the subscriber ID. And I'm going to explain what that means. The application identifier is basically it's a public key, right, that Novo uses to identify your app. So all of us here now we all create one app. That's like 100 apps, right? Your app ID is unique. So we are going to have 100 unique app IDs, so that when Novo is sending the notification, it can easily identify your app and know where to send the notification to. So then we also have subscriber ID. Now let's quickly go back to the dashboard. The value of your app ID, you're going to get it from your dashboard. So just go back to your dashboard. Give me a second. This is the cost of having so many browsers open. All right. So if you go to your dashboard, I need you to go to your settings. When you go to your settings, you are going to see your application identifier here. So I need you to copy your application identifier and go back to the code and put it there. So copy your application identifier, come here, put it. And then when you're done with that, the second part of this is the subscriber ID. Now, when you sign up on Novo, by default, I want you to go to the subscribers panel. If you go to the subscriber section, you're going to see one subscriber. You're going to see a subscriber ID like this. So when you sign up by default, it already gives you a subscriber ID. So I need you to confirm if you can see that. That is the subscriber ID that we are going to be sending notification to. Towards the end of the workshop, I'm going to show you how to add subscribers. So what is a subscriber? A subscriber is basically the user of your app. So let's say your app has 1,000 users. That means you have 1,000 subscribers, basically. Because it's the users that receive the notification, right? They log in and they can see the notification. So that's a subscriber. So the subscriber ID that you're putting in your index.html is literally your user ID. So you know how, somebody signs up, you put it in database, you either have a UUID or you have a normal ID. That ID is also your subscriber ID. So in the code, all you need to do here is you put the subscriber ID. So now, if you are building a real application, because this is workshop, a real application here is when the user has logged in, you get his ID, right? Whether you're using React or Vue, and then you just attach the ID to the subscriber ID here. That's all you need to do. So now that you've done that, I'm going to show you how it looks like in the browser. All right. So that component, this is the component. This component here, let's go back again. This component that we imported here is what is showing this notification center, just like that. On a normal day, if you were to build this, you are going to build all of this from scratch. You are going to set up, uh, um, you're going to set up your CSS, build all of that. You're going to also set up your WebSocket and everything. But just by referencing this novel web component and importing it here, you already have a fully fledged, well-styled notification center. I don't understand this. Why am I seeing half of the screen? What can we do about this now? Can you guys see properly now? Okay, good. Here, good. So this is the notification center. Just that component we imported, you can see it here. So when your users log in, that bell, almost everybody remembers that when you log into your app, you look at that bell. In fact, it's muscle memory at this point. That you just go and check that bell to know that, oh, there are notifications here. So this is exactly how you are going to build it for your users. Once you import that novel web component and you click on it, these guys are reminding me I have 15 minutes. Can somebody block them for me? All right, so back to what we were saying. So when you click on this bell, again, I'm just going to reference it a bit. This is the component here. You come back here and you click on it. This is it. Now I'm going to do something now. You see you have some messages here, right? I'm going to delete all of it so that we can do it from scratch and send a notification. We're going to trigger a notification and you're going to actually see it happen here in real time. So let me just go ahead and delete all of this. I'm going to remove all these messages. So the good thing about the notification center is it works exactly like anything that you need in a notification center, right? You can see your messages. You can mark a message as seen. You can mark a message as read. You can delete a message. You can mark everything as read at once. And you don't have to bother about building all that functionality from scratch. It just works out of the box. Good. So now this is empty, right? This is empty. Now let's go ahead and trigger a notification. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to trigger the notification from the back end. Okay? Because of course, when you have an app, you have the front end and you have the back end. The front end is where the users are seeing the in-app notification. The back end is where all the events are happening. The back end is where all the events are happening, right? So when the event happens, somebody in the back end, like the code there must have, sent a notification like, okay, this person just logged in, send him this, send him that, send him that. So we are going to trigger a notification from the back end, and it's going to show on our front end. So I'm going to go back to the slide and show you what you need to do. So let's go back here. You see this trigger notification? I don't know if you guys can see it properly. I just need you to copy this. I don't know if you can see it properly. Can you see it? You know what? I'm going to open Postman now. I don't use Postman. I use Insomnia. How many people use Insomnia here? Thank you. Again, you're blessed. So if you open Insomnia, this is my Insomnia. If you have not tried Insomnia, please try it today. I'm telling you, it's very beautiful, really awesome. So let's come here to trigger notification. I don't know if you guys can see this thing properly. I'm going to try to increase it again. So here in the URL, you can see Oscar Workshop backend.vercel.app/API/trigger notification. So we are going to trigger a notification. And when we trigger the notification, we are going to see that notification actually appear on the front end. Are we following? Please, if you're not following, let me know. Are we following? All right. So again, let's go back to the front end. In the front end, you can see that there's nothing. It is plain, nothing, blank. Let's come here and try to trigger a notification. So here, I'm passing in 3 values. I'm passing in a name, a content, and a UUID. Don't worry about the name and content. I will explain that later. But for now, I'm passing in the subscriber ID, and then I'm going to trigger a notification. Now, when you trigger a notification, it needs to know the subscriber ID as well, so that it knows the user to send the notification to. Are we following? So I'm going to trigger, again, I want you to look at it so that it will not be as if I'm doing Ojoro. Are we clear? There's no magic here. It's going to work in real time. Good. There's nothing here. I'm going to come here and trigger. So it has triggered now, right? Let's go back. Can you see? Do you see the icon? That was not there before. And in the apps you use, you always see the icon, right? It can be different colors. It can be blue, it can be red, it can be green, depending on on the theme of the app. So this is it. So let's open it. Voila. Hi, Unicode developer. Welcome to Oscar. Now I'm going to show you where this content is coming from. It's coming from the editor. Let's go back. So if you go back to our workflow, before I came for this presentation, I created a workflow before. I called it workshop. And if I open it, you can see I did this. But I don't want to explain this yet because this might be a little difficult. So let's go back to creating our own and using that template. We created our own before called Oscar Africa, right? So we are going to just use that here. Sorry. Here it said, welcome to Oscar Africa Notification Workshop. So I'm going to go back to Postman. I'm going to use the local, let me see if it is running. Okay, this is running, just to confirm. Good, this is running. So this is the local one, and I'm going to check the code. In the local code, I need to be sure that it's using the right template, the right workshop notification template. All right, so I'm going to change this trigger ID to be the correct one. Here it's called workshop template. Now, can you remember the trigger ID of the one we just recently created? Let's go back. What's the trigger ID? Let's see. Okay, it is Oscar Africa Workshop. So let's go here and copy it here in the environment variable. In the code here, it's just going to call this and trigger. So let's go back and try to run that on Postman again. But let's go back to the front end. We are going to delete this message. In fact, let's not delete it. Let's have it as evidence that this was done before. So I'm going to run it locally now and trigger notification again. I'm going to close it. Okay, I've triggered the notification. I'm going to come back here. Can you see? Now the notification, this is the new one that we just sent. So you can create as many notification templates as possible, and once the backend triggers the notification, immediately, it's real time. Just in how many minutes now? 20 minutes. You don't need to set up you don't need to set up a WebSocket, you don't need to do all of that. Something that would have taken you a week or two, you're doing it in less than 30 minutes. Right? Now you already have an in-app notification. In fact, tomorrow, if your product manager says you want to build an in-app notification into your web app, all you need to do is reference this workshop. In less than 30 minutes, you are done. You can put your estimated time for your product manager. Oh, this is going to take a week and a half. You do it in 2 hours and you go and sleep. Or you travel to Ibiza and have a party. Enjoy yourself. But now you already have your in-app notifications working. So we are going to do something now, right? This is content that we just triggered directly from the dashboard. Welcome to Oscar Africa Workshop. But let us go further. I want us to make it dynamic. This is too static, right? Because life is about dynamism, right? Content changes all the time. So let's say you want to say, depending on whatever the user is, and depending on whatever the user's name is, you want to inject the username and make sure the content can always be dynamic. How do you go about it? Let's quickly do that. So we are going to go back to that template again quickly. So I'm going to try to expand this. I don't know if you guys can see it. We're going to come here. Let me close it here. I'll open this again. Now, this is welcome to Oscar Africa Notification Workshop. I'm going to inject 2 variables inside this place. I'm going to inject a username and a message content. So I'm going to change this now to hi username. The good thing about Novu is that you can inject variables using the handlebar, right? I'm going to do hi username. What should we put? Then I'm going to inject another variable called message content. Now take note of these variables that we're injecting. I'm going to update this template, right? So once I update this template, good, it is updated. So from the back end, we are going to inject these 2 variables so that it can now show on the front end in our in-app notification. So let's go back to the code. So if you go back to the code, in the trigger notification code, you see I'm doing something here. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is blocking it, but I'm going to scroll up. So in the trigger notification, you can see there's a code called payload. Because we are trying to inject the username and message, we are going to send it from the backend as what? A payload. Like a payload is like a vehicle that's carrying something. So we are sending what? The username and the message content as a payload. So on Postman, we are going to send it via Postman now. So let's come back here. So you can see I already put a template, name and the message content. But let's go back. Here we said username. So how come we are using name here? So this, okay. So name is what we put in the code that is getting from the body, so we don't have any problem. But it is username that we are using here. So username, message content. So it's going to send in username and also message. Let's go back here. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, we are sending a payload of username and message. So I'm going to change this from content to message. Okay, so let's go back to trigger. Now, can somebody give me a username apart from Unicode developer? Username. Bad Lagos boy. Black Lagos boy. Okay, the Black Lagos boy. Let's use that. The Black Lagos boy. Idon. Right, we're going to use that next. So what should be the content? What should be the content? Eh? Give me something interesting. That's too boring. Let the boy breathe. Perfect. Let's use that. Let the poor breathe. All right, good. So let's go back and check again so that we will know that we're not doing any ojoro. Let's go back to our front end. You see, our front end is still there. These are the two notifications we have fired in the past. So let's see. Hopefully this does not embarrass me. Let's go. So let's trigger a notification. The Black Lagos boy, let the poor breathe. So we send. So we are triggering a notification now. Let's go back to our front end and see. Hi, the Black Lagos boy, let the poor breathe. You know, in most of my workshops, I always have technical problems. This is the first one I've not had any technical problem. I'm so excited. Wow. This is a great audience. Clap for yourself. Clap for yourself. How many more minutes do I have? Because I have a lot to talk about, but I want to summarize. Huh? How many more minutes? 5. Oh, I see 5 plus 5, 10, Abi. Karen said 5. Ada said 5. So we are good, Abi. Okay, 5 minutes. What can we do in the next 5 minutes? Okay, let's do something. Let's follow along. Now we've been able to trigger a notification, right? So let's create a subscriber. Again, like I said, your users are your subscribers. But for this to work successfully, all the users in your app, in your database, they also have to be created as subscribers on Novu. Novu has to recognize them as subscribers, else it will not be able to process it. So let's quickly create a subscriber via Postman. So if you're following along with your laptop, you can see create subscriber. I'm going to quickly run it on Postman so that you can see what we are doing. Because when you signed up, like I said, it's created only one subscriber, you. So we are trying to now create a new subscriber now. So let's go back to the Novu dashboard again. If you go to the Novu dashboard, let's go to subscribers. So if you check on your own laptop, you will see that you have only one. I've done a lot, so you might see some other ones here, right? So let's just quickly create a new subscriber. So I'm going to go to Postman. I'm going to go to create subscriber. I just put this random stuff here. So I'm going to change this to maybe 88999 kurumu@gmail.com, Prosper Kurumu. I'm going to go ahead and send. So it's going to create a subscriber. So let's see on our dashboard. Can you see? Now we have this new person, right? So you can do that for all your users. Bring them to the dashboard and put it there. So now that we have this subscriber, you can always use this subscriber like we used it to send a notification, right? So I'm just trying to cover some other ground so that you can know what this thing can do for you. So let's go back here. Now, after creating a subscriber, what else? Topics. What are topics? Topic is an easy way to trigger notification to multiple subscribers, which most of you will be doing anyways. What we just did right now was to trigger to one subscriber. So imagine you have different types of users in your app, and you actually need to send notifications to all of them at once, right? Normally you can trigger to multiple, but with the way the code is, you have to like put in all their subscriber IDs. It's a lot. So instead of doing that, you can use topics. Topics, we just categorize them, right? So let's assume that all the people sitting in this row are front-end developers. All the people here are back-end developers. All the people here are DevOps engineers, right? So with topics, you can create a topic, a front-end developer topic, a back-end developer topic, a DevOps engineer topic. So let's try to create a topic now. So we have this URL for creating a topic. Don't worry, I'm going to share my slides after so that you can follow it yourself. So if we go to Postman, I already have something here, create a topic. I'm going to go ahead, let's say DevOps. So with a topic, you just need to have a key and a name. So DevOps. Is it DevOps engineers or DevOps engineers? I don't know English again. I know it's not DevOps developers, that's weird. DevOps. In fact, I'm just going to leave it as DevOps. All right, so create a topic. I don't know why it's taking time. Okay, so after creating a topic, you want to see the topics you have created so far. So let's go to list topics. So with list topics, I'm just going to go ahead and run this again. So when I run it, the response is going to show me all the topics I've created before. Front-end developers, back-end developers, and DevOps. Now, after you create a topic, the next thing you need to do is to add the subscribers to the topics, right? Because this topic is a category. So now you can add a subscriber to the topic, right? So when you want to add a subscriber to the topic, again, you can do it from Postman. I'm going to share all of this. I'm just trying to rush because my time is almost over, right? Now, here you have this. You put in the key, which is the topic key, and then you can add as many subscribers as you want. So what was the ID of that last subscriber that I created before? That was 8899. Let me just quickly check from the dashboard. Here, 8899, I'm just going to copy it, come back here. All right, and I'm going to do this. So it's going to add that new subscriber now to the list of front-end developers. So now I can now go ahead and instead of sending a notification or triggering it to one subscriber, I can send it to the topic. Right? So initially I was sending the notification to the subscriber. Instead of sending to subscriber, I'm now sending the notification to topics. So which means when I send a notification, it will just take all the subscribers within that topic and send the notification to them. All right, so I'm just going to round up. We have seen how to do an in-app notification. I'm going to share my slide. The workshop is online. And then I want you to quickly do me a favor. I want you to go to GitHub right now and check the Novo repository. This is the Novo repository. Okay, it's still loading. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to please start this repo right now in this workshop. If you loved this workshop, let me use that. If you liked this workshop, so that it's not be as if I'm telling you to do something, right? I just want you to quickly go to this repo on GitHub. github.com/novuhq/novu and start the repository. It just take less than a second, right? Just start the repository, yeah. And yeah, I think that's the end of my talk. So I don't know if there are any questions. Yeah. So how do we do it here now for the questions? Just maybe 3 minutes of questions. I think there's somebody at the back here, there's somebody here. We have a lot of questions, that's great. Just one. But I did not finish my time now. How many minutes? Oh, okay. All right. So they say just one question. But after the session, I'll be at the back. If you have any question, you can just come and meet me. I'll answer your questions.
Thank you very much, sir, for the session. It was really a wonderful session. I wanted to ask that the in-app section that this thing added, that can it be configured? Like, can we change the UI? Can we
Yes,
do that?
yes, very good question. So let me just amplify his question. The question is that UI that I just added, the notification center, can you modify the UI? Yes. In fact, this library is you have the library that ships with with this fully fledged CSS, and then you have another library called the headless notification center, right? So if you just go to docs.novu.co, I don't know if you can still show it on the screen. In the documentation, you will see that we have what you call a headless notification service. So with that headless comes with no UI because of course it's headless, right? So you can build your own UI around it. Now, if that is going to be too much work, you can also take the existing notification center and just modify the CSS. So it has some properties that you can pass to it that allows you to modify the notification bell itself, the color, every single thing, the action, the message item, every single thing that you can modify it there with the CSS. So that's actually a very good question. Okay, so I think that's the only question they will allow. If you have any question, I'm at the back. Please feel free to come and meet me, and I'm going to answer your questions. Thank you very much. I have a talk tomorrow. Please don't miss that talk. I'll be speaking here again tomorrow, but that will not be a workshop. That will be a full-fledged talk. Thank you very much.